Ladies and gentlemen, here he is. Woo! The sensation, Jason Gavin!
Danmark har fået en ny verdensmester. Miguel Tesla. He's the fucking champion of the world. Miguel, man.
Welcome to the 127th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse Podcast. I'm Steve Welling, standing in for Andy Patterson, and tonight I'm joined by Kurt Ward, Donny Baseball and Adam Smith. Bit of a depleted squad tonight, but we're going to push on regardless and hopefully give you a quality show as usual. There's only one place to start this week, guys, and that was in the O2 Arena on Saturday night, where Kell Brook successfully defended his IBF welterweight title with a 6th round win over Frankie Gavin. I'm sure we weren't all expecting this to be a barnstormer, but it was pretty routine stuff from Kell Brook for the most part. I felt that he carried Frankie, who was pretty much overmatched, as we expected. And Frankie Gavin actually said afterwards that he gave his all and he did the best that he could. Adam, do you believe him when he said that? Do you think he really did give the best that he could?
In a nutshell, no. I think this week he's gone from Paul Webb, as I said in the week, called it well and he alluded to it. When it was first made, Frankie Gavin, was talking like a winner. And this last couple of weeks, maybe when the weigh-in comes round and someone from Sky has a word with him, he changed his tune a bit. But certainly earlier in the week, he started talking as a participant rather than a winner. And that set alarm bells ringing for me. The expectations of him weren't very high from my poor viewing spot on the back row of the O2 Arena last night. He just looked, Kell Brook dominated from the first moment until the last. The stoppage, when I first saw it, I thought that Frankie had quit almost and turned his back, but I have seen a replay today, and that's pretty much the only replay I've actually seen. It didn't really pan out as what I first thought. Obviously, I think he took a flush right hand, and then Kell obviously went in for the kill and got it. So, but it was what we kind of expected, really. It's tough to hate on it because would have all accepted if Kell Brook would have won his mandatory in March in emphatic fashion as he did, and then gone on to an August showdown with Brandon Rios. I think would have all accepted that as it is. But in the meantime, we've got to see Kell Brook again, extend his unbeaten record on a pay-per-view card that and his name kind of made it that, or his title definitely made it a pay-per-view card. And so yeah, for an interim keep busy bout, I think it was more than acceptable. Frankie Gavin just wasn't no way good enough. I mean, even from my vantage point, the size difference was significant. I think that Frankie Gavin actually stands reasonably tall and almost as tall as Kell Brook, but he fights a lot shorter than Kell Brook and a lot shorter.
Very crouched, isn't he, Adam? He's always in that crouching style.
Yeah, I thought so. And I mean, we all know that that the style that Frankie was going to bring and the style that Kell was going to bring. But really, he's just simply not got the power or output to trouble anyone, and especially Kell Brook, who is particularly good, particularly big, in some opinions particularly good, and quite and very strong as well. And as Kurt said in the week, especially in the clinch, etc., and up close, Kell Brook just dominates you. He dominated Sean Porter. He was obviously going to dominate Frankie Gavin, and that's how it panned out. It was just it did turn into a little bit of a nothing fight, to be honest. I don't think there was a massive Sheffield contingent in the arena last night. Obviously came on a little bit later than the rest of the card, and it just fizzled out a little bit, and from the high of the previous fight that I'm sure we'll come on to.
Exactly. Donny, you're our voice of reason from across the pond. I know that you saw highlights of this fight. Afterwards, Frankie Gavin said that he'd sampled the chocolate brownie and now he knows what it's all about. We don't know if your man Amir Khan's going to be sampling the brownie anytime soon, because it doesn't look like that fight is going to happen. But what did you think of Kell's performance, and also equate it to Khan's performance the night before, because I know you have to go, so bring in Amir's analysis as well if you want to.
Well, like I said, I didn't see much of the fight. What I did see wasn't very exciting, but that's sort of what I expected, because, I mean, Frankie Gavin should be fighting at 140, and it's as simple as that. I mean, he's not a welterweight, and, he was a tiny guy in there, and that's really all you need to say is that, you had already mentioned that, or excuse me, Adam already mentioned that, on the inside, it's very easy to get the best of a smaller guy, maybe Gavin fights at 147 because there's other domestic stars there. Maybe he fights there because he likes his food, in between fights. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, it just I knew that fight was going to be, terrible, and it was. But at least I guess Kell stopped him, so that's it. And compared to Khan, well, I think that, Khan was facing a guy I think who was a little bit better, but and he didn't look very good at all. I know we're going to get to that. I'll probably still be around when we do get to that fight, but just, equating it was two guys who kind of wish were fighting each other, and instead they were fighting lesser people. Brook looked a little bit better against his lesser opponent than Khan did, but what can you say, really? I also think, though, that Khan didn't expect the type of fight that he got. Like, Algieri's always the one who's on his bicycle, so circling all the time, and he was coming forward in that fight, and he wasn't deterred by Khan's power. So I didn't think that he thought Algieri would fight that type of aggressive fight, whereas I think Brook was able to predict the way that Frankie would fight him. And when a guy does something different, which of course it had to be expected a little bit, because what's his name, Algieri had a new trainer with John David Jackson, who's obviously done great things with Kovalev, and that was his first fight with him, and you could see differences that between him and that Tim Lane, who of course became famous for all of his hilarious ringside commentary in the Pacquiao fight. But I think that was a good move for Algieri, and even though he lost, I thought he put on a good performance, and his stock didn't go down because everyone thought he was going to lose anyways.
Thanks very much, Donny. Kurt, feel free to compare Brook and Khan if you want to, but regarding Brook's next opponent, Brandon Rios has been mentioned, hasn't he? I was talking to Adam Abramovitz on the Twitter last night, and he didn't seem to think that Rios would be able to be tempted over because of his popularity in America and the fact that he earns big purses over there. It would take an awful lot to bring him over. Do you think Rios could be next, or where do you think Brook, which direction will Eddie take Brook?
Well, like the names mentioned, you'd think that Rios would be the guy they want. He's not going to fight Furman, he's not going to fight Pacquiao. But I think Adam is right, to be honest. Rios is on big money, makes...
Sorry, Kurt, we've got a bit of feedback on if you can just mute, sorry.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Kurt.
Rios makes, big money, so for him to come over to, I think they're talking about Bramall Lane, they're going to have to offer him a big purse, and obviously that's another pay-per-view, but, you know, Rios is a name opponent and a guy who, you know, you'd think, stylistically, you know, he's going to walk forward, he's going to block punches with his face, as he always does. But, you know, he'll give it his all, and, you know, obviously, unlike Frankie Gavin, I think that's an interesting fight, because if he can take Cow's power, then he can make it a good fight, but you'd still expect Cow to be too big for him and just frankly too good for him. But yeah, I mean, that fight last night with Gavin, I mean, I wasn't that impressed with Amir Khan. I think the fight itself was a really good fight and much better than I expected it, because I too didn't think Algieri would fight that way. I thought he'd go on the back foot and make it a boring fight, but he came to win, and, you know, he tried his best and he landed some good shots on Khan. But the thing is, I see Khan getting a lot of criticism for that performance, but when you see Brook's performance against Frankie Gavin, I mean, I don't see the same criticism. I mean, Frankie was made for him, too small, doesn't hit hard. He basically offered nothing. I said to our regular member, Paul Webb, I mean, who offered more? Aston Villa against Arsenal or Frankie Gavin against Kell Brook? I mean, it's a close one, to be honest. I mean, Gavin wasn't there to win, I don't believe. I think he was there to try and go the rounds and have his little... You know, he could hold his hands up and say, I went 12 rounds with Kell Brook. It was like he was more interested in making Kell look bad than actually trying to win, because what was his game plan? You know, smothering on the inside and just standing there doing nothing. You know, I don't know. To be fair to him, it was hard to see how he could win, but he offered nothing at all. So no, so I think, you know, Kell's active, that's fine. You know, he fought Jojo Dan, he's fought Gavin. Now he might be fighting someone like Brandon Rios or someone else. You know, you can't complain too much. You know, he's active, that's what you want to see, but to me, both guys didn't show their best, you know, and I think someone like Algieri, I think Khan should be, you know, he never hurt Algieri once to me, which shows that his power, you know, you think he'd be there, but I don't think he's got much power there, to be honest, and he's still shipping the right hand, and I still think he's open for the left hook, but I just think, you know, has Virgil Hunter really improved him? I mean, or is it just because he's faced not big punches? And I think a Brook fight needs to happen, and it's a tough fight to call, I think.
Well, hang on, I just want to say, to be fair, except for the one punch that knocked him down, Pravdakov never really hurt Algieri either, and that guy hits like a freight train. So, you know, something that goes down. You know, Pacquiao knocked him down a lot too, but I never really thought that he was seriously hurt in that fight.
Okay.
Steve, as we're talking about Mr. Khan, I actually quite enjoyed his fight Friday. I expected more than most, I think. I did expect Algieri to put up to it. I expected Algieri to enjoy it and have a go, and that's what he did, obviously. And I think Algieri looked to me, I don't know whether it's his new trainer or he's got a new team or whatever, but obviously he's got a new trainer. But it looked like he'd grown into welterweight a little bit more than as we saw against Pacquiao. And obviously Khan's a lot different to Pacquiao, but I quite enjoyed it. I think
he looked massive. He looked huge. Yeah,
I think he's definitely grown into it. Either that or he's been doing something illegal, which we wouldn't rule out. But no, I think he caused Khan trouble in the. I think I noted at the end, right at the end of the first round. I think possibly the 8th from what I was watching. Khan's obviously a comfortable winner. I think Hunter has improved him a little bit, but Khan's still vulnerable. And I know people think I'm biased, but I finished watching that fight and I just thought Brook just smashes him. I thought that before, but it was just reinforced on Friday. And we're running out of reasons, really, to find why the fight with Brook isn't happening. There's one main reason, which we all know, because Khan is chasing Mr. Mayweather. If that is to not happen, then the obvious fight is the Brook one. I mean, we had comments from Khan last week along the lines of, I was desperate, so that's why we've ended up with Algieri. In a nutshell, that's what he said. And Khan's on there talking about, and I thought that Brooklyn would be a good venue. No, Amir, you're not in charge of picking the venue, and you're not fully in charge of picking the opponent. You know, he goes on about he's got the best advisor in the country. Let him do the frigging advising and booking the venue and booking the date and, you know, booking mainly the opponent as well. Let him do that. You get in the ring and do the fighting. I mean, Eddie was claiming that, hey, and I quote, Khan's team were on the phone Friday night, but practically straight away. So, I mean, Eddie's still hopeful of making it, but there's just no reason why Khan can't take the fight whenever it may be, October, November, when it's confirmed that he ain't getting the Floyd fight. Just come over, fight Kell Brook. Kell's fans, and I met one of them last night. Hey, Aisha, you know, they think that it's an easy fight for Khan. So take the fight, take the check, take the belt, and then piss back off to California. That's fine. I've not got no problem with that. Just do it.
Adam Smith has spoken. David Lowback, are you going to counteract what Adam said? Do you agree with this? How much of Amir Khan did you see on the Friday night, of Kell Brook on the Saturday night? Where would you weigh in? Which side of the argument? Dave? Doesn't sound like Dave's weighing in any side of the argument. Kurt, do you want to jump in there then?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Adam says what's stopping the fight. I think, 2 words, Al Heyman. You can't just say Khan's ducking the fight. I mean, let's be honest, Khan could really want this fight. I think Brook really wants to fight. I think Khan wants to fight as well. But you just don't know what Al Heyman wants. People with an agenda will say different things. At one point they'll say, Al Heyman has complete control over his fighters. They have to sign a contract. Everything goes through him. Nothing happens unless he says so. But on the other hand, they'll say Khan's ducking Kell Brook because, well, you say why? And they say, because Eddie Hearn's told us so. Eddie Hearn's on his 500th iFilm London interview this week, and he's saying the same thing. They've offered the fight, just like they offered Frampton the fight. Maybe they ain't got the check out, but they've still offered him the fight, and he doesn't want the fight. So why is it? The thing is, Al Heyman does what he wants, and everyone knows that he runs the show. Peter Quillen turned down $1.4 million to not fight Korobov in a fight that he would have been favoured in, all because Al Heyman said so, because he had beef with Beyonce and Jay-Z. That's the kind of thing that he does. Keith Thurman, could be put in with any welterweight in the world, really, in Al Heyman's stable, but he's been put in with Luis Collazo because Al Heyman said so. So unless he wants to fight, we won't see it.
But we don't know what's going through. We don't know what's going through Al Heyman's head. But Khan ain't exactly a massive ticket seller in America. He's obviously not American. I just struggle to fathom it at times, to be honest. I know Khan's got all sorts of potential, and he's still a very, very good fighter. But we're just struggling to know what's going through Al Heyman's head.
Well, you can't always just judge it exactly by tickets either. I mean, different events and different opponents and events are promoted in different ways. There's no question, though, he has name recognition. I mean, people who know boxing, in the United States definitely know his name. Brook obviously less so. It just depends how hardcore of a fan you are. But that name recognition does something, because the pay-per-views is what makes the money, and it doesn't matter how many tickets you move. If people know your name and they're willing to buy a Khan Mayweather fight or whatever it is, they'll pay for it.
If nobody's got anything else to say regarding the Khan Brook fight, Adam, just moving back to the O2 in general, you were saying there that the arena was pretty muted last night during the main event, and I was looking on Facebook today in some boxing forums and actually saw some very positive responses to the pay-per-view as a whole. If you were a special advisor to Matchroom and you got the ear of Barry and Eddie, what would you tell Barry Hearn, Eddie Hearn they had to do to improve these pay-per-views?
Well, to be honest, I thought if I was at home last night, I'd have happily paid for that. I think it was, compared to, as I said in the week, compared to the Liverpool pay-per-view, it was chalk and cheese. It was stacked with the pure number of fights. They had some good names on there, and most importantly, it was, and he likes to use the word stacked, with close fights. The main event wasn't. The main event was a washout and was pretty crap. But, right from the off, that John Wayne Hibbert fight was a belting fight. And then we went up to Ryder, and then we went Cardle. That was pretty close on paper. I was actually quite impressed with Cardle last night. I know he gets some stick. And then obviously Mitchell and Linares swung one way and the other. Selby was brilliant against a recognised and genuine champion. And like I say, the main event was poor. So I mean, there's not really they sold a hell of a lot of tickets. But when you get a show like that in London, whereby you've got a couple of Londoners, Sheffield lads added late to the bill, you've got a couple of Welsh lads floating about, and obviously Selby was more of a feature than Cleverly. It does create pockets of atmosphere, shall I say, but again, we'll come to it. I'm not mentioning his name yet, but it was absolutely electric when the big lad came out last night.
No unifying force, basically. It was little groups, Welsh, Sheffield, Londoners in different pockets.
Yeah, I thought that, and I was discussing that with my mate on the way in. It is special to be a part of something I know people are going to think that I'm a bit daft for saying this, but when I was there when Froch fought Butte, and it was made special on that night because every single person was for the Brit. I was also in the MEN for Hatton's last fight, similar. At least last night, I'm gonna go. I mean, like I say, I wasn't by any length in the expensive seats, but I recognised in a number of different pockets more Gavin fans than Brook fans last night. So that's why it was a bit, and obviously Gavin didn't really show much, so it made it a little bit flat as they were quiet. But when you're there on a night where everyone in the arena is on the side of one guy, then that's there a bit different.
Donnie, one guy Adam didn't mention there obviously was Anthony Joshua. I don't know how much of the Joshua fight you got to see, although there wasn't really too much of it to see. Johnson obviously was touted as a step up beforehand, and I mean, it's alright in hindsight, I suppose we see him as this sort of useless lard bucket who'd never been halted before, and many people expected him to be able to provide somewhat of a measuring stick for the later rounds, if nothing else. Anthony Joshua got rid of him in 2 rounds. Did he impress you, whether you saw the fight or not? Is that something that impressed you last night?
Yeah, it was. I mean, usually, while a fighter made, the chin is usually the thing that stays with him forever, no matter how many fights he goes through. And I mean, he can't be shot overnight. I mean, the guy took punches from Vitaly Klitschko and other big hitters and stuff, and they didn't stop him. And I know he's a little bit younger, but like I said, chin isn't usually something that fades with time. And at the end of the day, I mean, Joshua stopped him and Vitaly Klitschko didn't. And I think that if Sky hypes this up and it's like they make a lot out of it, they should. I mean, he was supposed to be there to take him rounds. No one expected him to win, but they did think that he would, see if Joshua had the stamina to go a long distance, and didn't need to go that far because Joshua took care of business early, and I think he deserves praise for that. That's a big statement to me.
Kurt, would you concur with what Donnie says there? And who would you put Joshua in with next, considering he's got rid of Johnson in reasonably impressive fashion?
What I think they're talking about is going to return on July the 18th. That's going to be against the pregnant Latvian, because the September 12th fight is apparently the big one, where the names mentioned. You saw Solis mentioned, Tony Thompson, David Price, Dillian White. It's got to be someone like that who at least can hit him back and will try and win. I think. I mean, we said it before. Safety Pin was a step up in terms of a guy who shouldn't fall over at the first punch, or he has the ability to go a few rounds. He's better at surviving than the previous guys. But he won't offer anything offensively. He just won't offer nothing. So there's no fear. Anthony Joshua can come in and do what he likes. He hasn't got to worry about any counter punches or making a mistake, because this guy won't do anything to exploit it. If you go in there against a David Price or a Tony Thompson, someone like that, at least there's something to offer. Then, and that's what he needs, because all these KOs, they're building a lot of hype, obviously, but we haven't seen him hit back yet, and that's the biggest issue. And he's done everything right so far, Joshua. He looks fantastic. He's doing the job that's been put in front of him. But until you see him hit back, it's hard to say how good he can be. I mean, they're talking about him as the second coming, but these guys, I mean, you can't expect him to be in with fantastic guys, right now. But like I said, if that September 12th opponent is one of the names mentioned, then we should see him, at least hit back, which I'm yet to see.
I'm not sure what context Adam's speaking in, but he's put on the Skype chat, let me loose on Joshua. Adam, the floor is yours.
Well, I was just there last night, and I was thinking, I think I tweeted as well, my opinions are going to certainly stir up some hate from the usual suspects tonight. Firstly, as I alluded to, the atmosphere last night for Joshua was especially for his entrance and during the fight, was the best of the whole night. And as soon as I sat down, obviously I was next to someone who I was with my mate one side, and on the other side some lads who I never met before. I said, "Hi lads, who you came to see, etc." Got chatting to him, and he said, "I know Joshua's. He did know his stuff. In fairness to the lad, and he says, I know Joshua's not done much yet, but this is one way you can say to your grandkids that you was here to see him." And that, and I'm not saying this ain't from a daft head sitting on a keyboard on Twitter saying, he's better than Tyson. This is from a genuine fan who's paid tickets, and he knew more about Mitchell's career than I did. So that's the thing that's happening. Joshua is selling seats, he's selling tickets, and he's doing the business in the ring. And I said beforehand, it's all about expectations. We didn't expect Kingpin Johnson to trouble him, to throw many punches. Obviously, we didn't expect him to win. So I think it was more of a mental test than physical. And last week I actually bought into the Johnson hype, not hype, but talk a little bit. And I know it's a daft thing to do, but Kevin Johnson weighed in on Friday at his career lightest, and I think that's gone under the radar a little bit. I tweeted it straight away. I think he was in the region of 18 pounds less than when he fought Derek Chisora 15 months ago. So he's obviously taking it serious. There's been rumours about training with the Furies, which is, a public secret. So he'd obviously taken it serious. He has racked up a few losses recently. No one's hiding from that, and it was kind of on the line. So he's a career lightest. He'd been training in England, possibly with the Furies, taking it, kind of serious. And he hasn't been KO'd before. And I was expecting a British stoppage, as we spoke about in the week. I was expecting it to get to 5 or 6. Johnson will add enough, or he might, retire on his stool, something like that. But really, Joshua, he could have virtually been stopped in the first round. He's absolutely blown him away. And as we said earlier, you don't get old or shot overnight. And for a heavyweight, he's only 35 years old, safety pin. It's significantly younger than the champion, really. And Joshua's gone out there and absolutely obliterated him. And I thought it was, very impressive. And it seems to have created more of a reaction over the pond than it has on this side of the pond. It's like I say, it's all about expectations. We didn't expect Kingpin to win. We didn't expect him really to throw many punches. But it was a mental test for Joshua more than anything. It was I know he's been on some big events, he's been at Wembley, etc. But this really, he was almost co-main event, as we kind of predicted last week would happen. The stadium was full when he came to the ring. It was by far the biggest name he's fought, certainly a step up. And certainly Johnson, even though he did it with a smile on his face, did his best to wind Joshua up last week, get under his skin. He tried a few different things. I thought it was a good performance, and my expectation was maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 rounds. He did it in 1.5. You can't not be impressed by that, can you?
No, that's very true. David Loback's on the line. He's joining us now. David, I don't know if you saw the Joshua fight or not, if you want to comment on that, but you did see the Lee Selby-Gradovich fight. I believe you're going to give all the plaudits to the IBF featherweight champion now.
Well, yes, I'll give him plaudits, although he's still a paper champion, as anybody who's not the man is. But I do have to respect Selby for that one, I picked Gradovich to win, and not just because Gradovich wasn't British. I picked him because I've seen Gradovich several times, and I think he's quite a good fighter. But Selby did quite well, and I thought it was looking to me like he was doing what he wanted, even the rounds he was losing. I mean, he didn't seem like too out of his depth. And I'll say a technical decision is not as good as a unanimous decision going the full 12 rounds, or it's not as good as a stoppage. But, I mean, I guess I thought it did look like Selby might have stopped him legitimately as the fight went on, because I think he backed him up and seemed to buzz him a little bit right before, a couple rounds before they stopped it. Obviously, another British stoppage, though, and that's not something we want to see because it wasn't really necessary. And the same thing can be said of the John Ryder stoppage. I don't know why. I mean, somebody like on the BBB OC must be giving these guys props for doing this, because they're constantly getting criticized by the fans and the public for this. But somebody must be saying you're doing great, because they keep doing it over and over. But anyway, Selby, good job. I'd like to see him against Lomachenko, or maybe somebody else. I don't know, someone legitimately world level. You guys not hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you, David. In response to the question, to your point raised about the stoppages, do you think the board are erring on the side of caution because of previous things like the Michael Watson situation, or do you think that type of argument cannot stand so many years later? Do you think that's a red herring?
Well, it's inconsistent, like they're saying in the chat. Like, look at Kevin Mitchell, because he's a British guy, they'll let him go on, a British guy against a foreign guy. They'll just let him continue, even though his cut was awful. I didn't actually see that entire fight, but I saw the pictures, that was a horrific cut. And I mean, he was fine. They could have, and apparently that was from a head clash too. If they were smart, they would have stopped it earlier and let him get the possibly technical decision. But nope. So I thought the whole card in general was actually quite good by UK standards, because we're used to getting crap from them, and particularly Matchroom, or Miss Matchroom, as a lot of us call them. But no, overall it was quite a good card. The main event though was horrific. I mean, I don't see how do they even make that fight with Kell Brook? He's already had one gimme fight this year. Now he gets Frankie Gavin. I mean, I guess it sells well because they're both British, but that is horrific. A world champion, allegedly a world champion, should not be fighting Frankie Gavin. Keith Thurman dominated his one-time Frankie's daddy last year. I mean,
I just think it's expectations, though. You know, Brook, it was a mandatory in March. This is a keep busy fight. You know, we're not going to shit on it just because it's a keep busy fight 9 weeks after his last fight.
Mm-hmm. Kurt, regarding the Lee Selby fight, whatever Dave was saying there, did you feel that the fact that it was a technical decision took anything away from Selby's fight, or was that like a proxy for a stoppage anyway, the fact that he was dominating him, or would you like to see Gradovic see out the distance? I mean, where do you sit on that one?
I don't think it should have been stopped, to be honest. I still think, the cut wasn't as bad. It reminded me a bit of the Paul McCoskey one against Amir Khan from a few years back, where he had a cut and it was stopped, and I thought it should have been allowed to continue. But to be honest, Selby was miles in front. There was no danger of him losing, to be honest. I mean, Gradovic was coming forward, eating shots, and that was about it. Apart from toughness, what else was he offering?
I agree. Adam, have you had your say on the Selby fight, or do you want to move on to Mitchell Linares?
I thought Selby was absolutely fantastic, to be honest. Gradovic was, again, pretty much as we expected to come forward, but I thought Selby was awesome on the back foot, putting him off on the way in. Selby was putting Gradovic off with his jab. He was, knuckling down for 2 or 3, 4 punch of combos and then getting out of there. Disciplined. He looked superb, to be honest. I think they're the stoppages, well, whatever it was in the end, but they're the kind of stoppages he's going to get to, i.e. because he's on the back foot so much. There's not the full power in his shots, but he will be marking people up. He'll be, swelling the face, just battering them mentally as well. And he's got a fantastic uppercut, Lee Selby. But just final point on Joshua from me. As I said previously and been saying for a few months, if Joshua, as Kurt said, does go back to a pregnant Latvian on July the 18th, then he deserves to be criticised. And after that, they need to be moving forward, not edging back. I don't know why they scheduled him. He's not in the last year. I can take it, but this year we don't need to be keeping as busy as what they're trying to do. I just don't really get the point while he's on that Manchester bill. They don't need an extra cell because they've got 2 local lads on there already and a half decent undercard. I know it's the Anthony Joshua Roadshow, but I believe he's been to Manchester before. I don't think they need to do it again. And just on the hype from Sky and Barry and Eddie and casual fans. I say it all the time, it's a broken record. He is the biggest asset that certainly Eddie Hearn has ever had. Probably what Sky Sports have ever had. And long shot, but probably what, this century, what the whole country's ever had. He really is starting to capture the imagination through his pure size, personality, history with a gold medal, and he knocks people out, and he's a heavyweight. So that's, it's their job. It's Sky. I mean, Sky, a few weeks ago, were doing promotions on the football, on the running of the Premier League season. There was nothing to go at. We know who was going down pretty much, and we know who was winning the title, but they still had to sell it. And so, just imagine how they're going to sell something when there's potential it could be, real top notch. But it needs to be, if, like I say, I will be the first, well, probably the second or third after Alex and Kurt. But if he's given a fat Latvian on July the 18th, that's not good enough.
He's a bit like Bruno in that regard. I think he's like they make him like Britain's favourite son type thing, and Bruno came up the same kind of way. He was knocking out guys who were just way below his level, and he looked great against them. They're trying to do the same kind of thing, and Bruno obviously everyone loved him. You know, British fight fans were always behind him, and he obviously transcended boxing as well because, you know, people on the street would root for him. So they're trying to do the same kind of thing with Anthony Joshua. And, you know, I've got to say they've done a great job with him in terms of that because people outside of boxing, you know who he is. So from that aspect, they've done a great job, but they've got to be careful because there's so much pressure on him. And I'm just worried, you know, a bit like David Price, if he does have a bad night, well, where does he go? You know, because it's like the country's pressure is all on him at the moment.
I don't know. I think that Joshua may be a better fighter than Bruno was, but I'm not sure. I mean, he hasn't proven that yet, obviously, but I'm not sure if he's going to be loved for his personality as much. I watched that little video of, was it Kevin Johnson asking him the question before they fought in the pre-fight presser, and Joshua really had no response. He was like Scott Quigg in the banter department.
You weren't impressed, David, no?
No, I'm not impressed. I mean, maybe it's just because he's young and he's still not used to talking, but, I mean, he needs to, I don't know, just say something. Don't just sit there. Obviously, he's
Do you not think that he's being
well.
micromanaged, though, to an absolute T about what he can and cannot say, or do you think that it's his own poor personality?
I think there's still that, I think we discussed it on here before, but there's like the conflict between the person that the Hearns are trying to make him into, like this like nice guy or whatever, and who he really is, which might be more of an aggressive person. But because I've heard him his shell crack in that someone asked him about his loss to Dillian White, and he got angry. But you know, I think that might be who he actually is. I don't care if he's mean or nice, though, as long as he continues to look good in the ring. But yeah, just say something. Don't just sit there, because it did make him look sort of like Scott Quigg, just confused.
He just needs a bit of charisma. I mean, why don't they get Joe Calzaghe on the line and, you know, get him to work with him a bit, you know, teach him some of the ways to talk to people in front of the camera. Mr. Charismatic, that's what they need, someone like Sir Joe.
They'll never get on the line with anybody from Matchroom. He's still busy ducking Sir Cobra.
I won't be happy until he builds a boxing ring in his garden and sleeps in it at night.
They could pull a stunt like Joe Calzaghe did. You remember after Clinton Woods won the IBF title on BBC against Rico Hoy, and they got Joe Calzaghe straight on the line because there was talk of him moving up to light heavyweight? Maybe it's only me who remembers that one. Tommy, no?
Sorry, mate, what was the question?
Oh, don't worry about it. Did you enjoy Anthony Joshua's performance?
I enjoyed it. I think the referee could have stopped it in the first round instead of helping him back to his seat, but I was very impressed with him. I thought he would have stopped him, but not as emphatically as he did. Very impressive.
Carry on, Tommy. Still with us?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was very impressed with him. I thought maybe about 4 rounds he would have stopped him, but the power was just too much. Even somebody as durable like Johnson, he couldn't live it. I still like to see Joshua obviously take a punch in the chin, but when he's blown people away like that, what can you do? See, you can't take it away from him. He looks like an absolute monster. He's got a big future in the sport, hasn't he?
Definitely. Tommy, down the deepest, darkest depths of the undercard, the Jorge Linares Kevin Mitchell fight was a decent one. I don't know if you saw this one, but I mean, yeah. Short of a quick face transplant, there was no way Mitchell could give any more in that fight, to be fair to him.
No, definitely not. He gave his all. I thought he was actually in front when the fight was stopped. He boxed a great fight. Just Linares was just too quick for him. I thought that going in, that would probably be the telling factor late in the fight, would be Linares just accumulation of punishment. Kev's got a lot of heart. Obviously, he was going to stick in there. But I thought he fell apart late, didn't he? The hematoma obviously on the side of his head, and that was grotesque, wasn't it? But I still think he's got a world title in him. There's fighters at lightweight that he could beat. I think the thing with Linares is a great fighter. He's obviously vulnerable himself, but going forward, he's absolutely outstanding to watch.
I'm a big fan of Linares. We spoke beforehand about this, David or Kurt or Adam, whoever wants to jump in on this fight. Mitchell actually exceeded expectations. I thought he's got a warrior's heart, but Linares has got all the skills. But definitely very impressed with him. Who am I name dropping again, David? Jump in there.
Aren't you name dropping Jorge Linares? We spoke before the fight.
Oh, we spoke on YouTube in the preview with Adam and Kurt, no less, about how good Linares was. I've never spoken to him directly.
Oh, okay.
But what did you think about his performance? Have you ever spoke to Linares?
No, I haven't. I thought, I didn't see the full fight, but I thought it was showed a lot of grit and heart, held up well. It was a very good fight. And like I was trying to say before I got disconnected there, I thought in this fight particularly, but most of the fights on this card were quite good. And by UK standards, it was a very good card. The main event, though, was horrific.
What the fuck? What's that supposed to mean by UK standards?
Well, you know what we're used to. You know what we're used to from Miss Matchroom. You know what, every card from Eddie.
You just labelled the whole of the UK boxing in there with Matchroom, didn't you?
No,
that's pretty much what you did, eh?
Every card from Eddie for the past, I don't know how long, has been crap. Since the big Wembley card has been pretty crap.
It's really the thing about it is it's pay-per-view, isn't it? That's what people are annoyed about. That was actually a good card last night, but obviously it wasn't pay-per-view worthy.
No, especially with that main event, which is pathetic. I mean,
that's a pay-per-view needs a standalone main event, obviously with a good undercard, and that wasn't a good, obviously, main event, but it wasn't a bad card, was it? So what exactly are you talking about again, Dave? Come on.
Well, all I'm used to from the UK for the past year, and probably more, is not particularly good cards. I don't know. I mean, can you think?
What about Bob Arum and Al Haven's cards that they're putting on? They're fucking hardly stacked, are they?
No, they're not particularly good either. They're all terrible. But the UK is.
Are any of them usually as good as these cards? That card that was on last night, or as stacked as that? Do you get 3 world title fights, 2 domestic title fights, and an Olympic
That's
gold
what I'm
medal?
saying. It's unusual by UK standards.
How did you get the card, Dave? Did you pay pay-per-view? What channel was it shown on? How did you stream it?
I watched I caught a stream, but I only saw one of the fights because I had to work. I downloaded the rest of them last night, but I have yet to watch them. I just think that main event. I assume it's still going to sell well because they're both British guys. They both have some name recognition, but that is woeful. I mean, why even put it as your main event when you got like other good fights on it? Just because Kell Brook is possibly the best fighter in your stable? I mean, that was terrible. And I mean, Keith Thurman's just dominated Fun Time Frankie's daddy already last year. And what's Kell Brook doing with this? I mean, we all criticized Khan for taking Algieri, which actually did turn out to be a good fight. But Algieri is way ahead of this Frankie Gavin kid. I mean, come on. Pathetic. Doesn't tell us anything about Kell Brook. He's already had one gimme fight this year.
How dare Dave talk about white sweets
Kurt.
like that?
Kurt, if you could flip it round, then who would you have had on the main event? Do you agree with Dave? Would you have had Linares Mitchell, or who would you have had topping the bill?
Yeah, I thought Mitchell should have topped the bill. He sold the most tickets. You know, I think that fight was the looking on the card, that was the best fight, the most even fight. Joshua was always going to be high up as well. You know, Brook Gavin was always going to be a bit of a shitty fight, I thought. And yeah, I don't know why that was main event, but it's obviously maybe Eddie's looking at it as Cal's the world champion, the British guy defending his title, so they want to push Kell Brook, you know, in London, I suppose. But yeah, it was the way it worked, it was sad because the card was really good, and then you had that shitty main event at the end, and a few people were leaving, and the crowd was just totally dead. If that had gotten out of the way and Linares Mitchell was at the end, you know, it would have been a lot better. But you know, hindsight, that's the way it is. You know, Kell Brook could have come on there and blown Gavin away, you know, if he was another time. So it's just the way it works out. But yeah, I think Mitchell deserved to have his chance. But again, another thing that I said last week, maybe it was better for Mitchell that he wasn't headlining, because in his previous big fights where he's headlined, he's crumbled under the pressure. So maybe that was another way they looked at it.
Adam, you paid cold hard cash for the show. What was the fight of the night for you before we start wrapping up this sort of O2 card? I mean, how did you feel after the final punch was thrown? Were you disappointed, pleased, frustrated? What were the overriding emotions? And was Mitchell Linares the best fight on the show?
No, I enjoyed Selby the most. To be fair, just through pure, I just thought it was absolutely class. And beforehand, I wasn't fully sold on Selby. I didn't know whether he had the stamina or whether he had the the discipline, or I just didn't know whether it was good enough. I know Gradovic ain't the best featherweight out there, but I enjoyed that the most. Mitchell, I still haven't made my mind up on that. I think he was fighting too disciplined. He obviously fought a good fight, and he was winning by hook or by crook on all three cards, I understand. But I just think he was fighting too disciplined, and he was too worried about what might come back in the other direction. So I'm undecided what my opinion is on Mitchell and what the general consensus is. But in a nutshell, he's had 3 fights at world level and he's lost all 3 by knockout. As of when the last punch was thrown, I could see it coming. When Frankie turned away, that was in kind of my direction. And I just said to Jamie, to my mate, just get up and get ready to go. And as soon as it was waved off, he was out the door. To be honest, we didn't hang about for anything after that. And like I say, it was a subdued end, both in the crowd and in the ring, for that last fight. And overall, I thought it was decent. And I've already bought a ticket beforehand for July the 18th, and I think that'll be decent as well.
Is it nearly as decent as Britain's Got Talent?
I'm very much enjoying Britain's Got Talent. I will be going on mute now.
Before you go on mute, Adam, Ryder, Ryan, or who was the other guy on the undercard? Cardle. Anything on those 3? If not, then don't. But if you have any,
I've already mentioned it. To be honest, I backed Blackwell. I said Blackwell would win. Ryder was winning. I think at the time, and Blackwell just got to him, and I'm not sure about the stoppage again. I haven't seen a close up, but I thought Ryder was gone pretty much.
That was another Howard Foster stoppage, wasn't it? You've got to let the guy, if he's in front like that, you've got to give him time to regroup and and he hadn't been down or that. He was a mile in front. That was a terrible stoppage. The only person I've heard defending that was Carol Froch.
Do you think if you put the pressure on sustained, hurt somebody, and then you throw punches and the other guy's looking a bit ragged for the next 10 or 15 seconds, Tommy, regardless of what lands, then you've got a good chance of stopping the opposition? Is that the sort of set framework?
I think you've got to give them time. When the second barrage of punches come there was not really any of them landing, wasn't there? He was definitely hurt initially, and he was hurt come the time. But see, to be honest, it's as much Ryder's fault as the ref, because Ryder should have took a knee, should have took a count, regrouped, and went back to it. But Foster, I think Foster's an absolute jokey referee. I've seen it for years.
The thing is, when you're getting hit like that, it's hard to think. I mean, like I said, hindsight, he should have took a knee, but the thing is, he shouldn't have to. I mean, it's the fight game. You take a few punches, and he never gives the guys a chance, in my opinion. He just instantly waves it off. The guy's hurt. Give him a chance to at least try. I mean, and if he doesn't, fair enough, you stop it. But him and Ian John Lewis, they're the biggest jokes out there. Every time I see them, whether they're judging or refereeing, I can't take them no more. They're just, nothing ever changes either. They can keep performing shit, and you still see their face on TV. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Remember Foster stopped Roy Jones against Danny Green. You'll have my eternal gratitude for that.
The compassionate Howard Foster. Anyway, lads, maybe that's enough of the O2 chat. We've already briefly spoken about Amir Khan, but I suppose we'll have to give Amir his due. We know he won on Friday night. Before we do, I'm just going to say, if anybody wants to call in, as usual, add Boxing Asylum Pod on Skype. Do we have anybody lined up, Kurt, for after the Amir Khan chat, or is nobody coming forward yet?
I think the good doctor wants to get on.
That's fine. The doctor will be in the house taking patients after we've had our Amir Khan roundup. So I see if you're listening, get your scalpel and your needles ready. Friday night.
Right, it takes a lot of patience to listen to him.
Bit of a sedative from Dave. Okay, fair enough, Dave. Here, Dave, while you're on, actually, have you spoken about Amir Khan? What did you think of his win against Algieri on Friday night? Were you impressed, or did he send you to sleep like the good doctor?
No, that was a very fun fight. I'm very happy that Algieri turned up with that game plan, because that's the only way he was going to make a case in that fight. I think the meshing between him and John David Jackson is a good one so far. I thought they were going to need to have at least one tune-up fight before showing anything impressive, but no, that he looked very good. I think his stock goes up after that, and I would say Khan's probably goes down. Although I did see things that I liked about what he did. His his chin, I mean, not that Algieri's a big puncher, but his chin, he took some big clean shots in that fight, and he didn't really show any kind of wobble. So I think his chin is more solid at welterweight. And then finally, Khan did start to fight back and show that he still has that dog in him. He stood in there and he traded and actually landed really good clean shots, and I think he actually did better when he stopped moving around the ring and just firing the jab, because when he stood in there just landing those, he landed a couple really good left hooks on Algieri. He actually backed Algieri up, and I think those were the couple rounds where he did that was the ones that won him the fight. I had a pretty close fight. I think maybe 7-5, 8-4 fight for Khan. It's hard to make a case for Algieri, although I think Matty has tried. But yeah,
really?
Good fight. Yeah. At least he did in some arenas, yes.
See the thing about Algieri is he isn't really a bad fighter. People look back at that Manny Pacquiao fight and see him getting dropped obviously 6 times. Obviously some of the knockdowns weren't legit in the first place, but anyway, he got dominated, but he really isn't a bad fighter. When you think about it, people are saying he landed shots against Amir, but he's quick. He was willing to go in and walk through Amir's punches to get his own shots off, wasn't he? And see, really, he only landed in the first 4 rounds, didn't he? Hardly landed a punch after that. I thought it was quite a good performance by Khan. I didn't think the fight was going to be easy for him or a walk in the park. I says it for a few weeks as well, leading up to the fight, that Algieri wasn't a bad opponent for him.
Yeah, Kurt, do you think that Algieri was maybe getting a bit of unfair stick beforehand? Do you think that he's, because of the Manny Pacquiao and the old letting him out the cage and all that type of business, do you think Algieri was looked upon a little bit harshly, or do you think the criticism of this fight was justified?
No, I think Algieri was getting unfair stick. I mean, you got to remember, all these boxing fans, wanking themselves silly over Ruslan Provodnikov, and Algieri beat him. That's the fact, he beat him. Yeah, it was a close fight, but going into that fight, they're all saying Algieri's going to get destroyed in 2 rounds. And Algieri put up a great fight, and he won the fight, I thought, and deserved the decision. So I just wasn't really looking forward to this fight, was because I didn't see him offering anything to Khan. He doesn't punch hard. He's going to go on the back foot. But like Tommy said, he with David Jackson in his corner, maybe he's got a new mindset. He knew the only way to win was to try and pressure Khan and to try and land some gloves on him. And he was prepared to walk through whatever Khan had to offer to try and get the win, and you got to say full credit to him for doing that, because he made it a really good fight, and he made Amir fight as well, and it was Khan who was on the back foot, using his footwork to escape Algieri, and Khan was just too good for him, but I think Dave said it was like an 8-4 type fight, I thought, and it was a really enjoyable fight, and I don't think many people was expecting that. So yeah, I think he does get unfair criticism, and I think with Jackson in his corner, I think Algieri will pick up a few more good wins along the way, because he's a better boxer than people give him credit for.
He's actually that's actually his style as well. He's actually a come forward fighter. I've seen a lot of Algieri over the years. I've watched him on Friday night fights for a long time, and that's his natural game, is to come forward like that. It reminds me a lot of Nathan Cleverly, with his style, the way he likes to apply pressure and get in and land shots. The fight, obviously, he can fight. He's fought in the back foot recently, but that on Friday night, that is actually his natural game. That's how he likes to fight. I thought he was going to come out. I had a funny feeling in the lead up to the fight he was going to come out. He's going to try and push Amir back.
Adam, I like putting you into other people's shoes, so I'm going to do it again here. Imagine the night after the fight that you're Amir Khan sitting on Skype, just rubbing your bruises a little bit. And assuming all of the political implications stay the same, which route would you, Amir, look to pursue next?
Well, it's rather simple. They've just got to see whether he himself, I think he would definitely take it, obviously, but whether Floyd Mayweather is prepared to fight him in September and selects him to fight him in September, that changes everything. And like I keep saying, I'm not anything against Amir Khan holding out and waiting in America and talking about Mr. Mayweather and, trying to put himself in the position. To be fair, I haven't got many complaints. It's the golden ticket that anyone between 140 and 154 pounds would take. It's the golden ticket, but it does chat a hell of a lot of crap. It's a continuous PR disaster, and he's going to continue taking Algieri, although it turned into a decent fight, it wasn't a risky fight. Neither was Collazo. Pretty much neither was Devon Alexander. He's going to continue to take low risk, maybe big name opponents. Algieri only a big name because obviously he was made famous by Mr. Pacquiao. So as for opponents, I don't know. I'm lost, to be honest. But for example, we're not going to see him in with anyone who can beat him, i.e. Keith Thurman or Timothy Bradley or Pacquiao. Well, maybe Pacquiao, but certainly not Kell, Brook either. We're just not going to see him in them dangerous fights because it puts his whole life up in danger. If he gets beat by any of those kids, getting paid a fifth of the money that he would against Mayweather, and as a few have said on here, it would actually cause Mayweather problems. I'll never go as far to say that it would beat Mayweather, but it would cause Mayweather more problems than Pacquiao did last month. So that it would just safety first. We'll continue.
Let's be honest though, right? Is there any fighter in the world who are in Amir's shoes with a Mayweather fight on the line would say, okay, let's go and fight Kell Brook? Of course there's nobody with that amount of money on the line is going to take a dangerous fight. It's a business. It's just not.
But how long can it go on for though? How long can it go on for though, Tommy?
Well,
we're talking 3 years.
Obviously, until Mayweather retires, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but
right. Listen, see when they first started arguing on ringside about the fight, there's really nobody could say that Kell deserved the fight back then. It's really just the last, since he beat Porter, that people say, okay, that it's time to make the fight. But from that moment, it's been clear that Amir's had a path in America and it's been leading to Floyd Mayweather. So
yeah, but how long is this path? This, Marco Maidana, overtaken him on the path twice. Like, it's such a long process. Maidana, kept one night against Adrian Broner got Maidana the ticket, and like the road to Mayweather has been so long and continues to be so long for Khan. It's a good job that really he's got age on his side in that he can almost waste 3 years against the opponents I've just named because he's still got age on his side. But yeah, clearly he's got to hold out for the Mayweather fight, and it's a big risk to fight Kell Brook.
Well,
but
I'd say really it's just the last year and a half that Khan's been a viable opponent again for Mayweather, hasn't he?
Well, viable, yes, in our eyes, but in Khan's eyes, it's been a lot longer than that. He turned down a fight with Alexander
I don't.
1 December because he thought he was going to get Floyd.
I don't think when he was coming back against Carlos Molina that he thought he was in a position to fight Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, but again, we've mentioned before, we've just not got a clue what's going through Amir Khan's head. This is the same kid and the same team that thought it was a good idea to have a British homecoming in Sheffield. But the single worst place Amir Khan could have a homecoming, they went there. The PR disaster will just continue. If he gets a Mayweather fight, hats off to him, brilliant. But I'm just bored of the rhetoric. I'm just bored of it.
I agree with Adam. I think Khan should be as active as he can be because the bigger the win he gets, the more likely he's going to get that Floyd fight. Right now, I would say he doesn't even get the fight. But if he goes out and he beats like top names, then yeah, the likelihood increases. In fact, he could force Floyd to give him the fight if he fights the best guy.
Who else is out there for Mayweather right now? As a viable opponent, as a big, obviously a proven draw in the sport. Who is a Danny Garcia? Danny Garcia isn't a proven draw. That fight won't happen. Keith Thurman, it's not going to happen, is it? I think he's got one option for September, and it's Khan.
Oh, it seems like Mixler's gone down at the moment. Just to hold that thought, guys. We have a Mixler outage. Some good chat going backwards and forwards there as well. Kurt's working hard. We're back on, guys. Welcome back. Yep. Sorry about any confusion there was there. The Mixler just went down briefly. We'll be back, but some great back and forward there between Tommy, Dave, and Adam. But it's time now, ladies and gentlemen, just to pull down your pants, bend over, and prepare for an injection of boxing knowledge because we've got the doctor in the residence now, Mr. Public Enemy #1 himself. Asif, are you there? Come on, Asif, you must be there after that big introduction.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Asif, go ahead. What do you want to talk about, man? Go ahead, Asif. Hit us.
Asif.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Asif.
No.
Yeah, so basically, just a quick thing.
You need to turn your computer.
We're caught in a time loop. Do you want to mute your mix?
into chaos.
That's fair enough. Okay. All right.
We're strapping you into the Nuthouse, Asif. Go ahead. We are receiving you loud and clear.
So basically, I don't know what Dave's on about with these mismatch fights of saying, oh, Frankie, Gavin, the shit opponent and all that. Don't forget, Adrian Bronner, who did he fight after Marcus Maidana? He fought Carlos Molina, John Molina Jr., Emmanuel Taylor. Who were these guys? And a couple of them came off defeat. So Dave shouldn't really talk about that Bundu and all that crap. And I love the cards in the States. It's always the same fighters fighting recycled people. You've got your Delvin Rodriguez fighting again against Brian Lara. Well, not Brian Lara. It's Landy Lara. It's always the same cheap fights. So at the end of the day, the majority of the fights in the States, they're a lot worse than in the UK. All this PBC. Don't forget Danny Garcia's Tulka. No one's going to forget about those fights. And
you're not going to see me defending Al Heyman's matchups, man. I mean, I'm no fan of the guy. I think he's terrible, and most of the time is making terrible matches.
Well,
but that doesn't mean that Gavin was a good opponent.
If boxing is bad then, and boxing is bad here, why do you watch in the first place? I don't think you should be watching boxing if you don't like it, by the sounds of it. But anyway,
well, I mean, I think as a fan we should hold the sport to a higher standard.
Hold on, let him respond, Asif. Go ahead, Dave.
I think as fans we should hold the sport to a higher standard. I mean, who's gonna do it if we don't? I mean, should we just be happy with getting shit?
No, but it is what it is at the end of the day. It's always been the way it has. It's always been a business, and I think people need to understand that it's not a sport. Whoever thinks it's a sport, then I'm sorry, but boxing is not a sport, and it never will be a sport. It's just a business, and that's it. That's all it is. Anyway, going on to more important stuff like heavyweight boxing. Let me tell you what Anthony Joshua said in an interview. He said that Matt Skelton is the boxer that gave him the most to think about. And that kind of says a lot, really. To say Matt Skelton is the boxer after your 12 fights before Johnson that has caused him the most difficulty and caused him something to think about. It says a lot about the opponent AJ has fought. Don't get me wrong, AJ's got a lot of talent. I think he's going to be a great boxer. But I just think the frustrating thing is he's too good for himself, really. He's a lot of levels above a lot of the people, and I don't think it's his fault that he's so much better than these people that he's knocking them out that badly. But hopefully in the next 12 months we should start seeing some good fights. And also to Adam, just to let you know, Johnson wasn't 224 pounds, he was 245 pounds, which is 5 pounds heavier than what he was when he fought Derek Chisora.
Well, the kid at the weigh-in must have messed that up then.
Yeah, Michael Buffer also called Kevin Johnson Kevin Mitchell. So I think Michael.
So he's made me look like an idiot then.
So I think Michael Buffer's approaching dementia now. So I think that's his issue.
Is that an official diagnosis, Asif?
Yeah, you can call it what you want, man. You can call it what you want.
To be fair, he did actually, regardless of what the actual weight was, he did actually look half decent on the scales, I thought.
Yeah, he looked okay, but I think Michael Buffer's going to start saying ish showtime now, as opposed to let's get ready to rumble. He's been saying now. And also, to talk about, I do agree, it is frustrating saying, even before the fight, Michael Buffer saying, oh, the man who's never been stopped before, Kevin Johnson, he's not going to say he's lost his last 3 fights. The way they were bigging that up, I think that was the thing that really got to me, the way they were hyping up a guy that's never been stopped. Oliver McCall never been stopped. Well, why did they get Oliver McCall in next with Anthony Joshua? It's like saying, oh, Danny Williams beat Mark Tyson quicker than the Lewis beat Mark Tyson. It doesn't mean anything at the end of the day. But anyway, on the whole, it was a good card. I have to give a shout out to Kevin Mitchell. The guy, Kevin Mitchell and Nuthouse, in my opinion, was the best fight. He gave it his all. And, I felt bad for Kevin Mitchell. But it was a good fight and it was a good performance by Nuthouse. On Amir Khan now, it was a good performance by Khan. I do agree. People if people said, "Oh, Amir Khan should fight Provodnikov," they'd be like, "Oh, that's a good fight. That's a good fight. Go on, Khan." But you know, Algieri beat Provodnikov just the same way. Algieri beat Provodnikov, in my opinion, the same way Amir Khan beat Algieri. Provodnikov was coming forward against Algieri, and Algieri was just, you know, going on the back foot and, you know, outboxing him. And that's just the same way Khan for Algieri. I'll give credit to Algieri. I agree. I think he's a lot better than what people think he is. But I think it's just people to kind of put a down on Algieri based on his 6 knockdowns against Manny Pacquiao, which, to be fair, at the time was against the number 2 pound for pound fighter in the world. Kell Brook, Gavin. Kell Brook did what he had to do. I felt a bit bad for Frankie Gavin. I mean, he's not a great boxer, but you know, you don't want to. It's a bit like a you know, a kid getting bullied, a kid getting picked on a school. That's what the fight was like yesterday, before the teacher came and stopped it. I felt bad for that. Frankie Gavin, I don't know where he goes. I don't think he's a world beater. I know at the end was saying, you know, he can still fight at the top stage, but I don't think he can. But knowing Eddie N's connections with the states and all that, I won't be surprised if he gets Frankie Gavin a fight on PBC or whatever.
Did you buy the pay-per-view, Asif? Did you watch it on box office?
No, I was multitasking. I was watching the Copa del Rey final, and obviously I was watching this on my laptop.
Right, okay. Anything else you want to
and at the end also,
give us?
Yeah, at the end, and after the fight, man, he's on about, obviously everyone's talking what next for what next for Anthony Joshua. He mentioned, I don't know why, but he's mentioned Solis, Alonis Solis. I think he should keep that name out of his mouth. He's a disgrace, this Solis. But people talking about who they're going to fight next, you have to be realistic. The Manchester card is on the 18th of July, which is about 5-6 weeks away. And obviously, they can't really get a big name for 5-6 weeks, so you have to be realistic. He's not going to fight, you know, I'd be surprised if he fights Tony Thompson or Billy White, someone like that in Manchester. It's going to be, I don't know who he's going to fight a 5-week, 6-week notice. It could be Char, but then again, I think Char's very limited boxer. I don't think he's that good. He's the name, but that's all he is really. People forget he lost to somebody else. He lost his last one of his fights recently, which wasn't that great. But otherwise, it'll be interesting where he goes. I mean, like I said, I'm not got any issues against Anthony Joshua. I think he's going to be a good boxer. It's going to be a fantastic heavyweight boxer. I just think he's too good for his own. What's the saying? He's too good for his own good, or he's too good for his own liking. I can't remember.
He's too good for his own good. That's exactly the one. Asif, excellent points as always. Thanks very much for coming on, man.
No problem, mate. Cheers.
Catch you again. Thanks, Asif.
Cheers,
that's Asif signing out there. Before we move on, any more Amir Khan talk? Have we exhausted that? Has everybody made their points?
He's a fucking legend.
Thanks very much. Yeah, Tom.
Just want to touch on what Asif said. I mean, the way they were really going on about the Kevin Johnson never being stopped. I mean, what did Buffer call him? The unstoppable gatekeeper or something he referred to him as? I mean, they were talking about him like he was some kind of heavyweight Jake LaMotta who had about 100 fights and never been stopped. I mean, I understand that he's got a decent chin, but God almighty, they really plugged it, didn't they?
On a serious point though, Kurt, I know I've criticised Buffer in the past, but do you think he's shot to shit now, like? Buffer.
Do you remember Hasim Ratman when he fought Povetkin a couple of years ago and he was like almost collapsing as he walked to the ring? That's basically Michael Buffer right now. I'm surprised he can even hold the microphone. He's all over the place. Kevin Kingpin Mitchell was absolutely embarrassing. You got a 250-pound black man right in front of you, and you're thinking he's a white lightweight. I mean, from Dagenham or Dagenham as he called it.
You'd think he'd be able to get those details right. I mean, that's all he has to do. He has to read a few names and do it in a fancy voice. It can't be how big are the odds that he makes such big mistakes?
Exactly, Dave. And only for 3 or 4 fights on the card as well. It's not like he's got the depths of the undercard to worry about either.
I'm giving Buffer a pass on the Mitchell and Johnson. I know it's a white lightweight and a black heavyweight, but similar names, Johnston.
Who could forget Darren Baker, the Barker fight? So I guess Martinez.
Yeah, I mean, Barker, the first thing he would have done was get home, go on the Sky Plus, watch Buffer introduce his name, and he's forever got Darren Baker. He must want to kill Buffer.
Didn't he once announce Jim Watt as Jim Scott from Watland? Isn't that one of the most famous ones?
Go on YouTube and watch Herbie Hyde's fight with Riddick Bowe. Listen to how he pronounces Norwich in Norfolk.
Poor old Michael Buffer, he's getting some stick here. Here, boys, did anybody see the Fortuna Vasquez fight on the Khan undercard? I thought Vasquez was going to win that one, but Fortuna got it. Anybody see that one?
Nope.
Nobody?
I heard it was crap, though.
I think it was alright. I've seen worse, which I suppose leads me on.
It was an okay fight, but I saw people on Twitter calling it Fight of the Year, which is absurd.
Wouldn't say it was Fight of the Year. Did you think Fortuna was a handy winner, Dave?
It was pretty one-sided for Fortuna.
How could it be Fight of the Year when we had Scotty Cadle against Craig Evans last night? Come on, fuck you.
Were you digging that one, Tommy?
Super Scotty got the job done, eh? Born in England, talks with a Scottish accent, and wears Irish shamrock on his shorts. Every base covered, eh?
Exactly.
I like Scotty.
No worries. Lads, we haven't got any Twitter questions. I'm sure nobody saw the Fish, Chips and Scraps show on Spike TV last night, no?
I reckon a few of the panel were probably eating chips, but I don't know how many saw the actual show.
Ross Birkinshaw, it was a Dennis Hobson production on Spike TV. Fish, Chips and Scraps. Ross Birkinshaw lost, he retired after 4. I didn't see this one all the way through against Class Mobayane, apparently, but he didn't miss much, but it was pretty hilarious, the whole setup of the show. But if you get a chance to rewatch Fish, Chips and Scraps, you can maybe take a look and see what I witnessed there. Like I said, no Twitter questions tonight. We've lost Alex. He's bailed out on us, Kurt, unfortunately.
Well, you put it nicely. I'll say he's been a disgrace today.
Alex, hashtag pray for Alex. I think we'll have to get that one going on Twitter for his Twitter questions.
Maybe he's been handing out streams again and Eddie's had him capped.
Eddie sent Big Joshua around to just do him in. He's been his next victim, next KO victim. Probably put up more of a fight than Kevin Johnson, to be fair.
He's most credible opponent to date.
Well, poor old Alex had never been stopped until tonight. But one thing that we are going to carry on with, lads, is Bellew of the Week. We've got quite a few nominations, actually. The only one thing is, unfortunately, without Alex, we haven't got the introduction, so I'm not going to try and do my Tony Bellew accent. Adam, are you any good at doing Tony Bellew?
You fucking rat.
Gonna be vicious, mate.
Hey, I forgot to include this earlier because I didn't want the hate to go into overdrive, but Anthony Joshua last night iced a man that's never been done before.
There we are. We got the introduction done. Okay, this is the Bellew of the Week. What's the Bellew of the Week? Asked Tony. Well, we put up some ridiculous Bellew of the Week nominations, and some of them are the stupider things that have been said during the week. If anybody doesn't know what it is by now, and Kurt actually sent me a selection earlier, so I've copied and pasted them onto a Word document, and I've got them in front of me now.
Okay, what's the Bellew of the Week? It's gonna happen, mate. We're gonna do it, and when we do it, it's gonna be vicious, mate. I ain't a man dregsing with the weights. I ain't a man taking the last ounces of my soul on the scales. I've done that before. I ain't doing it no more. You can say what you want. Oh, Bellew's not in shape. Bellew looks fleshy at the weight. Bellew's just iced a man who's never been done before. Bellew just feels in absolutely fantastic shape. Bellew doesn't lose 2.5 stone no more each time at a camp. Bellew goes to the gym now 15 stone and just cuts 10 pound nice and easy. I fought Nathan Cleverly in my 16th fight, 15 fight novice. I had 4, the best person I fought was Oval Mackenzie at British title level. I am now, is that 25, is that 26 fights? I've fought some of the best, I've fought the best fighter in the world in my weight class, one of the biggest pound for pound punchers in the world. I've beat guys like Isaac Chilemba, world ranked guys. Let's see who beats Isaac Chilemba. I've beat renowned punchers, Ederson Miranda. I'm not saying who's the best Ederson Miranda, I'm just saying I've beat these guys. Who's he beat? Okay, everyone's saying, well, Tony, he did beat you. He beat a guy who basically got a fight because he opened his mouth at a press conference and he sells a shitload of ticket to the Echo Arena. That's why I got that fight. Everybody thought he was going to smash me. Everyone involved with that fight thought he was going to smash me. But when he went to within an inch of losing, and it's a decision that could have went either way, he doesn't want to come near me after it. That's why he couldn't answer the question then when I said it in front of him. Just answer me this: why wouldn't you take the rematch immediately? Do you know what he said? I think he was saying what that Walsh train station was. That long word. I couldn't understand what he was saying. I just answered a simple question like, why wouldn't you fight me the minute after the rematch happened? He wouldn't fight me because he believed he was going to knock me out, and he just believed he was going to beat me up, and that's all I've got to say about that. Well, let's do it right now. We can do it right now, you fucking rat. Okay, what's the Bellew of the week?
And the first Bellew of the Week nomination actually is from Mr. Amir Khan himself. And he said if Chris Algieri had fought against Manny Pacquiao the way he did against me, he might have beaten him.
Oh.
Do you agree with that one, Dave?
Yes, yeah, no doubt.
Okay. Jim Watt has also got a nomination as well. It wouldn't be the same without Jim. He said Gradovic is tough. He will go out on his sleeve.
I heard that one.
Is that better or worse than going out on your shield? I don't know, but we'll chuck in Jim anyway.
He
Nick
wears
Halling
his heart
as well.
on his shield as well, doesn't he, Greta?
He wears his heart on his shield. Well done, Kurt. Nick Halling, Jim's partner in crime. I heard this one myself, but I couldn't rewind to hear whether I'd actually heard what Nick said. When the camera panned to James Geale, he said, "This is the man who won the IBF super middleweight title in Boston last September." Nick was actually he was commentating on the fight, and it was last week.
So we found out that Nick Halling likes his drink.
He's been on the old hip flask with Jim Watt, I think. Allegedly. Oh, there's somebody on the phone. Who's that? Okay, guys.
Hopefully it's fucking Alex.
Alex is ringing in with a nomination. Maybe it's the nomination for Nathan Cleverly. And Nathan claimed he could make £168 for the right fight. This is Nathan, wasn't he comfortable at cruiserweight, Kurt, and now he's comfortable at light heavyweight? Do we know what weight he's comfortable at? Does he even know?
Well, he
didn't even make light heavy, did he?
No, it was 179, weren't he? But he said he had to move up to cruiserweight because he just couldn't lose the weight no more. Now he's at cruiserweight, he makes the weight nice and easy like Tony, but now apparently he's back at light heavyweight, he's got the weight again, now he can make suit middleweight, so maybe Tony, I mean, he missed about 700 punches in their fight, but one of them maybe got through and did more damage than we thought.
Sir Nathan came clean last night. He's pretty much put his hands up and says he's only moved up for the money against Bellew. For the big fight.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much as we expected. He's just admitted it.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on, guys. We've got Barry Hearn as well. Barry's becoming a bit of a regular with this, and he jumped in with Anthony Joshua as a weapon of mass destruction.
Peter Bin Laden's gone. He would have been using him, wouldn't he?
He's right about one. He's right about one thing. He's a fucking weight more, isn't he?
George Bush will be invaded Watford next week.
Barry has like this huge crush on Joshua. I think he realizes, like Adam does, that he is the biggest asset they have. So he's gone overboard.
He could buy him a house, though, couldn't he? I heard he's still living in his mum's council flat. I read that on Twitter last night. I don't know if it's true or no, but apparently Big Josh is still living with his mum in a council flat.
Well, he doesn't stay humble for nothing, does he?
Okay, Ian John Lewis, he's on the list as well, giving Mitchell the first 7 rounds against Linares. Was this Ian John Lewis who's responsible for this one?
That's the man he was judging. He had it 7-0 after 7 rounds. The first round he gave Linares was the 8th.
Flip me, boys. Anybody in conjunction with Ian John Lewis, or is this a definite Bellew of the Week candidate?
No, I don't see how anyone could have any.
I think the silence just says it all. We have Michael Buffer as well as the final Bellew of the Week. Poor Michael Buffer, I feel like I'm picking on him, but as you said earlier, Kurt, Kevin Kingpin Mitchell, Dave, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head. He hasn't really got that much to remember, but he got the Kingpin's name wrong. But I suppose afterwards it didn't really matter. You could have called him anything, because he got detonated in 2 rounds anyway. And that is all the nominations. Does anybody have anything else we need to add in for the Bellew of the Week?
Didn't Carl Froch call out Calzaghe for a street fight this week?
Wait a minute.
Or was that last?
Carl Froch came out last night and says that he gave Lee Selby the game. Was it Lee Selby? He said he gave the game
no,
plan.
Frankie Gavin. He gave Kell Brook. He gave Kell Brook advice and gave him the game plan.
That's right. He gave Kell Brook the game plan, and it's obviously Carl deserves all the credit for Kell's win, doesn't he?
So by proxy, Carl Froch is the IBF welterweight champion as well.
Champion. Yep.
Well, nobody deserves credit for that win, except for Leonard Bundu. He's the first man to do it.
Gavin beat Bundu. Shut the fuck up. What are you laughing at? Dave, I bet you've not even seen that fight, have you?
I scored at 116-111. Bundu destroyed him.
Oh, well, a UK fighter, now obviously you're going to hear him fucking losing, aren't you?
No, not if it's Sir Cobra.
I think I actually had that fight a draw. Or maybe
that's a pay-per-view I would go for.
That was a close fight.
Carl Froch, Calzaghe in the streets, I'll pay for that. Because Froch will destroy him.
Fuck, he's bad as Frank Warren. Dave, have you got any Bellew of the Week nominations, or was it Froch you just nominated, or was it Tom?
Yeah, I nominated Froch for the call out of in the first street fight. Also, last night he said, he sent a tweet out to Amir Khan about PEDs. I didn't really know what he was trying to say, but yeah.
Didn't see that one. Kurt, have you got any to add to the list?
No, that's about it now. Don't think we've got any more.
Tommy, if you've got nothing, we'll start tossing them up.
Alright, let's start tossing.
We'll start tossing. Okay, so we've got Amir Khan for his comments about Algieri. If he'd fought the same way against Pacquiao, then he might have beaten him. We've got the Jim Watt Gradovich heart on his sleeve comment. We've got Nick Halling forgetting that he saw James DeGale win the world title last week. We've got Nathan Cleverly, who's looking to boil down in weight, even though we thought that he wasn't able to. Barry Hearn, bit of a regular now, about Joshua as his weapon of mass destruction. Ian John Lewis, we've thrown the referee in for giving Mitchell the first 7 rounds against Linares. My old mate Michael Buffer for calling Johnson Mitchell. Carl Froch, Dave's thrown this in one. He gave Brook the game plan apparently to beat Frankie Gavin, just as well that he did. Don't think Brook could have managed it without him. And then a Froch PED claim about Khan. It's a bit ambiguous, that one. Kurt, who are you voting for Bellew of the Week this week?
It's got to be our mate Ian John Lewis. I mean, this guy needs investigating now. That card, it's not just Bellew of the Week. I think it's blatant corruption. There is no way you can see that fight and not give a single round to Linares. It's just a joke. Kevin Mitchell, even Eddie Hearn would surely have gave a few rounds to Linares. Nothing wrong with having Mitchell in front. It was a close fight, but 7-0, and then he's tried to give Linares a couple of rounds just to try and make it look closer. To me, he's just blatantly corrupt. Bellew of the Week, an investigation for Mr. Lewis.
Okay, that's one for Ian John Lewis. Dave, who are you going for?
I'll go for Michael Buffer saying Kevin Mitchell instead. Because, I mean, that's your job. That's your one job. And, I mean, you should probably at least know what you're doing before you start doing it. And, yeah, that kind of, I don't know. I think that's pretty poor form. Although Kevin Johnson's probably glad that some people are out there thinking that his name is Mitchell now after that performance.
Thinking that poor old Kevin Mitchell got stopped twice. Tommy, what about you?
I'll go with Froch for his taking credit for Kell Brook's win.
Okay, that's one for Froch. I have the deciding vote. My main man, I'm going with you, Dave. It's going to have to be Buffer. You had one job, Michael, one job, and you couldn't manage it. So Michael Buffer has won the Bellew of the Week award. Congratulations, Michael.
We would give it him, but he'd probably call it the Calzaghe of the Week or the Johnson of the Week, wasn't he?
Well done, Mike, well done.
You're no Jimmy.
Moving on, lads. No discussions this week. I'm sure everyone listening will be distraught to find out. Adam Smith's actually left the sinking ship as well. He's bailed out on us. So thanks very much, Adam. All we've got left is next week's previews. Miguel, Cotto, Daniel Geale actually is coming up next week, so I suppose we can have a bit of chit-chat about that before we finish up for the evening. Tommy, Cotto, Geale. It's going to be pretty much routine stuff for Miguel, I think, this one, isn't it? We need to see him in meaningful fights. We need to see him operating against better opposition than Geale. Am I being harsh there, Tommy, or do you think that's fair enough?
I quite like Daniel Geale, but there's only one fight we want to see at middleweight. We want to see Golovkin fight for the one title, don't we? So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not really interested in any Cotto fight right now that's involved in the middleweight title. I know Andy's not here this week, but I'll say it. I hope that Geale loses his glove up and sticks it up his arse next Saturday night. I can't see it happening. I think Cotto might actually feel him to the body. He should beat him, shouldn't he? But I really, really hope that Daniel Geale beats him. I've never really wanted to see Cotto lose a fight so much in my life, and I've hated that bastard for years, but I really, really want him to lose this next week. I hope I want him to lose that badly. I hope Daniel Geale puts cement in his gloves, fucking loads him up, and pretty much destroys him.
If Bill sucks up his ass, he might like it. Ask Brian, his big friend.
Well, yeah, he probably won't need the lube.
How do you see this one going then, Dave? Do you think Cotto has enough in his tank to stop Geale, or do you think Geale will be too big and maybe not a hard puncher, but think he could give Cotto the runaround and maybe spring an upset, or how do you fancy this one going?
Well, before I talk about the main event, the card itself is pretty sad. I mean, you got the main event, Cotto and Geale. All the rest of the fights are TBAs.
TBA, yeah.
You got Wilfredo
Shocking,
Vazquez,
isn't it?
TBA, Junior Yonan, TBA, Jose Lopez, TBA, and 3 more TBAs.
Is this a Frank Warren card?
I guess is it the first one of the first big Rock Nation card?
Yep, Rock Nation Sports, David Iskovich, who used to have something to do with Golden Boy, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I seem to remember he was over here for the Paul McCluskey Amir Khan press conference on behalf of Golden Boy, so he must have jumped ship to Rock Nation.
Well, I think Cotto's got the advantage in this fight, being that he has the physical assets, and he's been looking good his past 2 fights. Actually, back when he fought Delvin Rodriguez, he seemed like he was sort of making a career comeback and taking it more seriously, like he seemed to have lost the motivation before. But now it seems sort of like he's back to where he started in terms of he recently said boxing's just like a job for me now. It's a lot harder for me to motivate myself to get in there. I don't remember the exact quote. We have it somewhere on the Boxing Asylum forums. But yeah, I don't know. It's a toss-up because who knows what kind of Cotto we're going to see in there. It could be the same version that fought Trout, who showed up like he didn't care at all and just got dismantled, or it could be one who showed up against Delvin Rodriguez and just went for it, went all out. So it doesn't matter to me who wins. It's not an important fight.
Kurt, Geale's obviously coming off the back of a unanimous decision victory over Jared Fletcher, which sort of emphasises his lack of punching power. You think that anybody in and around sort of decent world class will get rid of Fletcher the way that Billy Joe Saunders did, the way that Daniel Jacobs did. Geale is very much a boxer rather than a puncher, though he has a respectable, I think, 16 knockouts at world level. Do you think he has the power to cause Cotto any trouble, considering Cotto is obviously not a natural middleweight? I mean, do you think that he could cause any problems in that regard, or is his best chance to try and use his boxing skills?
I don't really think he's got the power, to be honest. I mean, the thing that I've noticed straight away when you see them together is the size difference. I mean, Geale looks so much bigger, and that could be the biggest obstacle for Cotto. I mean, but to me, it's people going about the weight and, Cotto's facing a bigger guy, but to me, it all comes down to talent and skills, to be honest, and I don't really rate Daniel Geale, to be honest. Yes, he's bigger, but apart from that, what else has he got going for him in this fight? I mean, I just think if Cotto's at his best, he'll beat him and shouldn't have no trouble with him. I mean, Daniel Geale couldn't even beat Darren Barker, to be honest, and Daniel Barker was a respectable, fighter, but if you're any sort of top challenger, I think you should beat someone like Darren Barker, to be fair, and he couldn't get the job done against him. He also lost to Mundine, which says everything to me, and obviously you're looking at him recently against Golovkin, but that's obviously a much different fight because, Golovkin's obviously a middleweight who can obviously punch and Cotto's not. But yeah, Cotto should have too much for him, and I think this is a a decent name for Cotto, and you know, people obviously want the Golovkin fight, but this is a guy he can face, and people can say, oh well, he's a top middleweight, I suppose, and so what can you say? But that really says more about the middleweight division, to be honest, that Daniel Geale is a top-rated middleweight, and the fact is, like, I don't see Cotto having too much trouble, to be honest with him.
It's on HBO in the United States. Is this a Box Nation in the UK and Ireland, do we know, Kurt?
Yeah, I believe it's on Box Nation.
Box Nation TV, so we'll be able to watch it at least then. Do you want to, Kurt, before we move back down to Dave and Tommy, do you want to give us a round prediction? Do you think it's going to go the distance, or do you think there'll be a stoppage either way?
I think it'll be big points. I mean, Cotto looks like he's punching harder now with Roach, he's more aggressive, but Geale seems pretty tough, and I wouldn't hold the Golovkin fight against him. I mean, Golovkin will do that, and then Geale, I thought, went for it against Golovkin, which a lot of guys don't, and so I think more of a points win, but Dave said it, you just never know what Cotto could turn up. I mean, if he takes him lightly, I thought if he took Trout lightly and he paid for it, but I think Trout's got a better talent than Geale, but I think he should win comfortably on points.
Dave, what about yourself? Do you want to give us a round prediction?
Well, I'm going to just make the assumption, which could be wrong, that Cotto is going to show up motivated enough to use his older style, his more aggressive style, and go for the stoppage. So I'm going to say maybe an 8th round stoppage, 9th round stoppage, sort of like similar to the Sergio fight.
Yeah, I'm fancying maybe Cotto myself to stop him in about the 10th or 11th round. I think that might just be pretty outrageous prediction. Tommy, do you think that there could be a stoppage on the cards for your mate Miguel Cotto?
I think he might. He could hurt him at the body. Geale's been vulnerable at the body in 1 or 2 fights, but if I was putting money on it, I would say Cotto 1 point. I think it'll be a decision win. It'll be a wide decision win, but yep, I'll go to the decision.
Excellent stuff, thanks very much. I think that's about it, lads. I've been looking down the BoxRec schedule, don't really see anything of any more interest. We've motored on pretty well tonight. We've ended up with 4 of us, but thanks to everyone who jumped on, and cheers for everybody who listened as well, obviously on Mixler, giving their thoughts and opinions, and everyone who's listening on the download portion of the show. Andy will be back next week. He was having a wee break this week, so cheers for Kurt and Tommy, Dave, Adam, Donny and Asif as well for all jumping on and joining in earlier on. I've been Steve Wellings. Thanks for listening to the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast, and we'll see you again next week. Thank you.